Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking the glittering promise and the surprisingly harsh realities of just-in-time manufacturing. JIT is so often hailed as the absolute peak of operational efficiency, right? The holy grail for modern production facilities. But as we're about to uncover, turning this brilliant philosophy into reality on the actual factory floor comes with some massive hidden walls. It's really not just a plug-and-play system. It requires fundamentally rewiring how a business operates.
And that brings us to a really fascinating core question for today. If the famous Toyota miracle is so incredibly efficient, why do so many companies completely fail when they try to adopt it? On the surface, the philosophy is simple, eliminate waste, hold absolutely zero excess stock, and build only what you need. Yet, the graveyard of failed implementations is vast. Countless companies attempt it and end up just crippling their own operations. Let's dive in and find out exactly why implementing just-in-time is so notoriously difficult.
Here is how we're going to break this down. 1. The promise of JIT. 2. Walking the inventory tightrope. 3. The subcontractor squeeze. 4. Hidden costs and quality. 5. Supply chain fragility. And finally, 6. Optimizing the JIT reality.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the promise of JIT. Pioneered by Takahashi-en over at Toyota, this whole philosophy was born as a direct counter to traditional mass production. And the fundamental goal is brilliantly simple. Make only what's needed, exactly when it's needed, and in the exact amount needed. It was strategically designed to ruthlessly eliminate the massive financial waste that happens when market demand suddenly shifts. Think about it. Instead of being stuck with massive warehouses full of useless stock when consumer tastes change, a just-in-time facility remains endlessly agile, entirely protecting its capital.
Now, to actually pull this off, the system rests on 3 interconnected pillars. First up is the Kanban system. Instead of blindly pushing products forward, this is a pull system, meaning materials are only drawn from downstream when absolutely necessary. Second is continuous process flow. This means optimizing your layout specifically for small lot production to eradicate any idle waiting times between stations. And third is a strict adherence to takt time, which is pacing the assembly line exactly to the heartbeat of actual customer demand. When all of this perfectly aligns on paper, it operates like a flawless, highly tuned engine.
Which brings us to Section 2, walking the inventory tightrope.
So here is the harsh reality. Operating just-in-time means you are constantly walking a high wire without a safety net. Because you purposely carry only the bare minimum inventory, the slightest miscalculation in your demand forecast has brutal, immediate consequences. Say you get an unexpected demand spike. Well, a sudden part shortage instantly halts your entire production line, completely crippling your revenue. But lean the other way and misjudge a sudden drop in demand, now you're suddenly saddled with the exact economic burden of wasted capital and excess inventory you were trying to avoid in the first place. The margin for error is essentially zero.
Let's move to Section 3, the subcontractor squeeze. That immense tightrope pressure doesn't just stay neatly confined inside your own factory walls. It cascades forcefully down to your suppliers, forcing strict zero inventory policies onto your subcontractors, especially without offering them any flexibility, often crosses a very dangerous line into what the industry bluntly calls subcontractor bullying. If you demand parts on extremely short notice and just completely ignore your partner's own capacities and financial health, the relationship fractures. Your subcontractors burn out, or worse, go bankrupt. And ultimately, the parts stop arriving, and your multi-million-dollar production operation grinds to a devastating halt.
Next up is Section 4, hidden costs and quality.
The hard truth here is that just-in-time is far from a free philosophy. Implementing it requires a massive, often totally ignored, upfront capital investment. You literally have to entirely redesign your facility layouts to accommodate new, continuous workflow paths. You've got to invest heavily in specialized, adaptable machinery just to handle rapid, small lot production. And perhaps the biggest hidden cost of all is quality control. Because you have absolutely no buffer stock sitting around to swap out a bad part, a single defect will literally stop the entire assembly line. You are essentially paying a massive permanent premium just to maintain absolute operational perfection.
Let's look at Section 5, supply chain fragility. By aggressively eliminating waste and buffer stock, you are intentionally stripping away your own resilience against the unpredictable. Because a just-in-time environment is so intricately tuned, a terrifying domino effect is just always looming in the background. If a natural disaster, a sudden accident, or even a minor logistical delay hits just one isolated supplier, your tiny buffer of inventory depletes almost immediately. Within hours, your entire production line is paralyzed.
This immense structural fragility is truly the single biggest hurdle keeping so many companies from fully realizing the JIT dream.
Finally, Section 6, optimizing the JIT reality.
So knowing all of these massive operational risks, how in the world do modern manufacturers actually survive and make just-in-time work? Well, the answer is they don't do it manually anymore. The modern fix relies heavily on sophisticated digital infrastructure, specifically advanced production schedulers like Asprova. Tools like their specialized solver option act as the ultimate digital safety net. By automating process optimization and dynamically issuing perfectly timed pull instructions, this software automatically navigates those brutal inventory tightropes we just talked about, drastically reducing setup times and mitigating delays.
Instead of relying on human guesswork and forcefully pushing demands downstream, this AI-driven scheduling processes millions of variables and potential production plans in mere seconds. It calculates the absolute most efficient way forward, ensuring parts arrive exactly when needed and resources are allocated flawlessly. And this high-level computation allows you to strictly honor the Kanban system without blindly bullying your subcontractors, which effectively prevents those catastrophic supply chain collapses that ruin so many JIT initiatives.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a critical question to ponder. The ideal of just-in-time manufacturing is undeniably powerful, but as we've seen today, the reality of implementing it is utterly unforgiving. So, is your factory truly ready to abandon its safety nets? Are you prepared to embrace the advanced digital scheduling tools and structural changes required to actually make the JIT miracle a reality, without breaking your supply chain in the process? Understanding and answering that question is the true challenge facing modern manufacturing today.